This is my bio video for the Grossmont Zoom. You know me, I'm Larry Durbin. I called you every 10 years, begged you to come to the reunion. Some did, some didn't. I want to start off by saying I never really had a nickname like in high school or college, but if I had one, or if I could have picked one, I would have picked Lucky. Because I think my whole life, I think I've been pretty lucky. I'll try to prove that here in the next couple of minutes. First of all, where our house was when I was growing up, getting ready to go to high school, was right on the line. If I had lived across the street, I would have gone to El Cajon High. I always think I was very, very fortunate to go to Grossmont because of the teachers and because of the people I met that I'm still good friends with today. It meant a lot to me, more than just the education. People like the late Ken Hagelin, Billy Knowles, Patty Kling, Mike Reed. So those are good friends. My dad wanted me to take Spanish in high school. I wanted to take French. I don't know why. Since Dad didn't go past the 8th grade, I wondered why he should tell me what to take. But anyway, he insisted that I could not take French. So I took Latin, and that's where I met Hagelin, Patty Kling, Jim Melvin, Mike Reed, all the people, all my very good friends. You know what we did in high school: wrestled, played tennis, some student government. Mostly just tried to get over being a teenager. Senior year, I wanted to go to college. I had worked during the summer. I had amassed a grand total of $850 to go to college. Mrs. Quicksall called a bunch of us in, said she wanted us to take the NROCC test. And I said, "What is it?" And she said, "If you take it and pass the test, I'll tell you what it is." So I took it, passed the test, she told me what it was. The Navy paid my way to college, University of Idaho, for 4 years, paid all my tuition, all my fees, all my books, and gave me $50 a month. Doesn't sound like much, but I got a job working at a sorority, serving meals. They called it hashing, and that gave me 21 meals a week. So 5 of us got together, rented not an elaborate house, $55 a month, so my rent was only $11, so I had plenty of money left over. In fact, my folks sent me some money, I sent it back. Senior year, note came around, said, "Anybody wants to be a pilot? Got to take the test and the physical." I did that, passed, and then I had to decide if I wanted to be a pilot. I had no idea what an afterburner was. I had no idea what it meant to go supersonic. I didn't know the difference between a fighter plane and an attack plane. So I thought about it. I thought, well, if you're a pilot, they pay you an extra $100 a month, which sounds stupid nowadays. But we were only making $232. I figured I could make $332 if I was a pilot. Never thought about difficulty. Never thought about danger. Never thought about anything. Anyway, I signed up, went to flight school. 2 years later, I was a Navy fighter pilot flying in Fighter Squadron 13 aboard the carrier of the USS Shangri-La. I made an 8-month cruise in 1965. Came back September, got a blind date with a lady named Donna. Went over there to pick her up, not knowing what she looked like, and knocked on the door, and this gorgeous lady in this really nice white pantsuit outfit answered the door. I said, "Are you Donna?" She said, "No, I'm Teddy. Donna will be right out." So I dated Donna, I think, twice. And the next month I took out Teddy. So that would have been October of 65. And 6 months later we were married. So things happen pretty fast when you're in the Navy. But I was getting ready to go on another 8-month cruise. And I figured if I came back after an 8-month cruise, she'd be gone. So it wasn't without its problems. At one point in our relationship, we weren't talking, which is typical of the way I do business. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, I was in my apartment, which was next door to her apartment complex, and I had a terrible pain. And I said, "Oh crap, I'll bet that's appendicitis." It actually was. So I knocked on my roommate's door next door, Al, and nothing. I knocked again, nothing. Finally I heard this voice, this feminine voice say, "I don't think Al wants to come out." So at 2 o'clock in the morning, I didn't have a whole lot of options, so I called Teddy, even though we weren't speaking. She took me to the infirmary, and they sent me to the hospital. The next day, while I was in surgery, my squadron went emergency orders to Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico for a month. So when they left for a month, I only knew one person in the whole state of Florida, and that was Teddy. And she came to see me every day while I was in the hospital. And by the time the guys got back, we were engaged. Things happen fast. Got out of the Navy in '67, and I would say I had a very successful time as a pilot. I didn't hurt anybody, didn't hurt any airplanes. Signed on with United Airlines. They sent me to Chicago. Then Teddy and I moved to a little town called Crystal Lake. And a couple of years later, I got to looking around for something to do, and I decided to go to night school, took a real estate course, got a broker's license, and went to work as a salesman for a company just to figure out how to do it. And a guy called me up and said that his manager had quit, and in Illinois you had to have a broker in each office. He needed a broker. Would I do it? I said yes. I did it, even though I'd never sold a house up to that point. 2 years later, I was doing pretty well. We had a pretty good office. And he came in and said his wife had got a broker's license and he no longer needed me as a broker. So I said, okay. So I started my own company. And a year later, another pilot called me and said he wanted to buy half. Well, I didn't have a whole lot to sell, but I said, oh, sure, I'll sell you half. So we became Durbin Stovall. 10 years later, in 1982, Teddy and I decided to leave Chicago and the snow and the wind and moved to San Diego and Rancho Bernardo. And at that time, Durbin Stovall had 4 offices. We were the second largest company in the county. And it was very successful, but I was tired of that. So we went to San Diego and built a home in Rancho Bernardo. I transferred with United from Chicago to LA. In LA, I became a captain on the 727, 737, 757, 767, and my final airplane, my retirement airplane, was the 747-400. The 747 is a very, very big airplane. My very, very first takeoff, we weighed 875,000 pounds, had 350 passengers and 19 flight attendants. Honest to God, I giggled the whole way down the runway on that first takeoff. I thought I was the luckiest guy in the world. What else? In 2000, you had to retire at 60, so I retired from United. 2002, Teddy said she wanted to buy a second home in Florida to be near her dad in his final years. He was 90. So we bought this home that we're in now, temporarily, and we liked it. So we went back and forth, 6 months here, 6 months in Rancho Bernardo, until 2015. Then we finally sold the Rancho Bernardo house and moved here full time. Mike wants us to talk a little bit about travel. Well, you can imagine as a pilot, I've traveled a lot. I've been to a lot of places, had a lot of fun. Most of them I wouldn't go back to. A few of them I would. I really like London, Paris, New York. But anyway, in 2008, a bunch of us old Grossmont guys got together and we started taking guide trips. And Mike Reed, Ken Hagelin, the late Ken Hagelin, Kenzie Humphrey, Bill Knowles. We went to all kinds of places: Chicago, New York, Nashville. Went fly fishing in Montana, Atlanta, Washington D.C. And our last trip, our first international trip, was to London, and that was probably our best trip. We just really enjoyed London a whole lot. Excuse me, single malt. And that's about it. We're very happy in Florida as long as we can get through this pandemic. Hope you all enjoy the Zoom. See you again.